Hey, shalom everyone. This is Dr. Durr. I'd like to welcome you back to the Wake Up YASHAR'AL channel. We are in our lesson 4 of the daily scriptural prescription. Today's lesson will be not weary in well-doing. All right, let's go to the book of Galatians, the 6th chapter. I'm going to start at the first verse and read to the 9th verse because the verses 1 through 8 puts everything into play. And it helps you better understand Galatians, the 9th verse, when he says, "And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not." You're going to have a better understanding of that when I read these verses. Let's start at verse 1. "Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the ruach of meekness, considering yourself, lest ye also be tempted." That verse is talking about when you see your brother in trouble or your sister in trouble, you restore that person. Ye which are spiritual. You got to be spiritual in order to restore. Because if you fleshly, you're not restoring nobody. I've seen that oftentimes throughout my ministry, how people that were in the flesh never lifted a finger to restore anyone because they couldn't do it, because they were so fleshly led and fleshly governed that they were jealous, which is a part of the works of the flesh, that they couldn't assist that brother and sister to get back up. And so they plotted their downfall. But those that were spiritual were meek and they were humble. They were always willing to forgive that brother and sister and put them back in the right place. Because look what it says. The last part says, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. Don't mean you're exempt. You can go through too. So you have to be careful with those attitudes. Second verse, "Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the Torah of Mashiach." It's talking about the Torah of Mashiach. That's how you do that, fulfill the Torah. Third verse, "For if any man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceives himself." The fourth verse, "But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another." Fifth verse, "For every man shall bear his own burden." Sixth verse, "Let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teaches in all good things." Take care of that teacher. Bless that teacher. Give that teacher some financial support. That's what it's talking about. Look it up. Check it out. It said, let him that is taught in the word communicate. Give to that person unto him that teaches in all good things. That's what it's talking about. Go read it. Go research it for yourself. The seventh verse, "Be not deceived. Elohim is not mocked." You hear that? Don't be deceived. Elohim is not mocked. "For whatsoever a man sows, that shall he also reap." Eighth verse, "For he that sows to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that sows to the ruach shall of the ruach reap life everlasting." Then it comes to that verse, "And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not." Now that word weary, let us not be weary. Why did y'all put that word in there? Because you can look at all the things that are taking place in society, in the world, all the wickedness that's against YASHAR'AL, and it can make you weary. What does the word weary mean? To become utterly spiritless. No spirit, no life, just weak. To be wore out, to be exhausted, just giving in, to have a fail heart, to faint in the midst of the battle and faint in the midst of the storm. But look what he says, "And let us not be weary." Don't be like those words I just called out, that definition of weary. And when you're doing good stuff for y'all, don't be weary, don't be faint-hearted. "For in due season," Yah said he makes everything beautiful in his time. That's Ecclesiastes 3:11. He'll make it beautiful in the right season, in the right moment. He said, and you're going to reap if you faint not, especially when you're doing the work of Yah. And he just told you that in the verses up above, that those people, he said, don't be deceived. "For whatsoever man sows, that shall he also reap." If you keep doing right by Yah, Yah going to come through for you. Don't be worried about man helping you and doing anything for you. Now, Yah will use men to give into your bosom, but don't be focused and thinking that man is your source. Yah is your source. He's the one that's going to come through for you. Look, keep on doing well by Yah. Don't get weary in well-doing. You'll reap in due season if you faint not. Shalom.